This is the Ricochet Report. The Ricochet Report.
Welcome to the Ricochet Report, the show that talks everything and anything firearms. I'm your host, Brad. And on today's episode, we're doing something very cool. We have two guests on the show today, Chance and Jay. Between the two of them, we're talking 2 decades worth of law enforcement experience, 15 years of military, SWAT team, federal task force positions. So combined, we're talking a great amount of knowledge and experience. And together, they have formed the Holistic Solutions Group. So we're going to get into this episode talking to both of them, seeing what's going on in their careers and what's going on with their company to bring you the most up-to-date tactics in law enforcement and firearms training. Chance and Jay, thanks for coming on to the show.
Hey, it's good to be here, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You know, after talking with LJ and LJ kind of being our mutual friend and setting this up and introducing me to you guys, I knew it was something I wanted to be able to get you guys on the show. So I'm very excited to start it off. Chance, if you don't mind, I'll start with you. You've been working in law enforcement for about 10 years now. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
correct.
Majority of that time, is it fair to say you've spent on one of the SWAT teams?
Yes. Probably close to 8.
So you got about eight of the 10 years, roughly, on a SWAT team. So what's it like going basically from joining a department, getting your foot in the door, getting a couple years under your belt, I assume on patrol, and then getting right onto a team?
My story was I didn't want to get on a team so quick. My first agency that I was with, they opened applications, and they're just how it was. There was not a whole lot of applicants in for the team for the many openings, and so the team leader called me and said, well, one of the sergeants called and said, "Hey, are you going to put in?" And I said no. And he said, "Well, why don't you do it just for the experience?" I said, "Okay." Well, I tested, and out of the 12 people who tested, I tested number 1, and so I immediately went to the top. Well, the team leader called me. Never really spoken to the guy. He's just a monster of a man, and he called and said, "Hey, you're on. Well, you're on. Like, hey, do you want it?" I was like, "Well, I'm still kind of new." He said, "Well, that's fine because there's actually guys who think you're too new and don't want you on." I said, "Well, what do you think?" He says, "I want you on." He says, "But if you come on, it's going to be an uphill battle." And I was like, "Okay, well," I thought about it. I was like, "Sure, why not?" And I did. And sure enough, it was an uphill battle for about 2 years. But it was a good experience. I learned a lot about myself and got to see a lot and do a lot in those first 2 years on that team. So I don't recommend that path. I recommend I should have said no. But it was kind of a trial by fire, I guess.
Cool. And you have some other roles within law enforcement for you. From my understanding, you're also a trainer, one of the instructors.
Yeah. So pretty privileged to do a lot of instructing for a lot of different avenues and venues and departments and agencies and stuff like that over my career. So a lot of it involves some sort of tactics of some way, shape, or form. But yeah, in the 8 years I've been on, I've been very blessed to be asked to teach a lot of people. Or, we say we're forever students. So actually, when we're doing that, I actually feel like I learn more than actually I might give out.
Sure. And that's really important. What you just mentioned there is the day you stop learning is kind of the day you're no longer effective. Is at least that's what I believe. And the fact that you say that right there while doing the work itself, it's very humbling to hear people say things like that, because it shows they truly care about their profession and care about how they perform so that they can perform effectively alongside the guys they serve with. So that's really great. Are you a part of any special details or task forces at all?
I was until the end of December. I was the first full-time task force officer in Kansas City to be tasked out with the U.S. Marshals a couple years ago, and was very blessed to when I was the first one to go out, and then once I left in December, we had a lot of other task force officers that were now deputized for them and on that task force. So I'm very blessed to be there at the beginning, and then I was very, very sad to leave at the end of December. kind of forced out, but at the same time, that's something we can't talk about later. But anyway, the whole point was, I was out with the U.S. Marshals for several years, and man, I can't even tell you the amount of experience and growth and crazy nuts things that we saw during those several years. So
I could only imagine, and being on a detail like that must have been a very, very rewarding experience. So, being a part of that U.S. Marshals task force, what does work like that entail for someone who's listening to this podcast and never worked in law enforcement? So has never even heard of the U.S. Marshals going to local agencies or local municipalities and deputizing officers in those areas and having them work alongside them.
So the Marshals Task Force is the sole purpose of it is to chase dangerous fugitives, people that are fugitives from the law, and they have to go and, we got to go find them. So I don't like the term manhunter. I think it's cliche, and I think it's actually kind of stupid. But to put it in simple terms, that's what we did. People who did not want to be found, we went and found them. And I found pretty quick, actually, that I was very good at it. It was quite the skill that I was able to acquire. But with that comes we became very, we became very good at enforcement sides of it. And so we didn't just have cases, we were tasked out to other task force. So DEA, ATF, FBI, career criminal, all of these other interdictions. We would go, we did a lot with human trafficking and sex trafficking and stuff. So anytime that there was people to be caught, found, or arrested, we had that niche that we were very good at planning and enforcing those operations. So that's what we did. To me, you couldn't ask for anything better. It required you to be a detective, but it also required you to kind of have that tactical mindset, because you could be on your computer while people are doing surveillance. You could be on your computer doing investigative work, and then at the drop of the hat, you're foot chasing a guy or car, or ramming their cars, or doing car pins and stuff like that within 5 minutes. And so it's experience you can never get. And so if you ever get it, don't ever leave.
That's awesome.
Don't ever leave. Don't ever leave.
And what about this? I understand you're a board member for a very special, I would say. You have an opportunity to be a board member on a very specific board I want you to talk about, if you don't mind.
So I'll let Jay talk about that one.
Sure, absolutely.
Because Jay is actually the one who was definitely OG there, and I was privileged to know him, and he brought me on board. So I'll let Jay talk a lot about that for whatever he wants to. But
no, that's perfect.
Yeah, that has been one of the most privileged things I've been a part of over the last part of my life. So
cool. Well, on that note, then, Jay, before we get to that, I just want to talk about your career a little bit. You are in the United States Air Force. You've been there for about 15 years. What is your AFSC?
Oh, you had to ask me the actual code. So I'm security forces.
Okay.
The Air Force. So 3PO, whatever the heck it is. So
no, that's cool. I just, I know if I've asked an Air Force or someone in the Navy what their MOS is, they're like, it's not an MOS. So I want to make sure that I get rate, MOS, and AFSC all correct.
No, I appreciate
so you work
that.
security forces.
Correct. Yeah. Security forces. And like you said, 15 years, just recently, here, the end of last year, put on the rank of Master Sergeant. So
congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I know an E7.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, according to Chance, it's very important that everybody calls you Master Sergeant when they meet you. Is that correct?
He's the only one.
You jerk. I told you not to say that.
He's the only one that does that.
What's it like being in the Air Force and actually climbing through the enlisted ranks?
Well, it's humbling at times because as you gain rank, you realize that you become less and less specialized, and you kind of rely on those people below you to do those specialized jobs. But as I went through the ranks, I learned a lot of lessons along the way that I like to share with my junior enlisted. That there was a couple ranks where I spent probably too much time at that rank, and it had a lot to do with some of my internal struggles with being doing some of the things we did, and that typical attitude. We were ready to go out and get things done, and sometimes just dealing with anybody that's ever been in the military understands some of the BS that you put up with, and I sometimes just couldn't keep my thoughts and opinions to myself. So then I kind of got squared away. I had a good mentor, a master sergeant, that kind of got me pointed in the right direction, and I kind of never looked back. So here I am now, and I usually like to use that story and several other ones, just kind of let people know that, just put your head down and do your work and get your stuff done and keep on moving up, because you can't make change. You can't affect change until you get to a certain level. And if everybody just gives up and gets out, then it gets stagnant. So I wanted to keep moving up and try to affect some change.
Sure. And did you go into the Air Force with a SecFo contract, or did that change along the way?
I'm sorry, what's that?
When you joined the Air Force, was it originally a security forces contract?
Yes. Yeah, I went in. I knew that I wanted to be a police officer on the outside. So when I joined the Air Force, I decided, hey, this is pretty close. And then I found out it didn't really correlate to civilian law enforcement at all. But I did learn a lot of things. You learn how to talk to people and stuff like that. So there were some certain things that correlated with it. I just never got to do a lot of the LE stuff that comes along with security forces. So I did more of the security side of it.
Sure.
So yeah.
And then on the outside, you are a law enforcement officer.
Correct.
Now,
Yep.
Did you go that route through the Air Force, in the sense that you already went through the Security Forces Academy that they give, and you used that route to get in with a modified academy, or did you have to go through a full law enforcement academy on the outside?
No, I still went through a full academy. I think there are some states that recognize a portion of either a military police or security forces academy. I believe, or Master at Arms would be the Navy. But yeah, so I went ahead and I went through I had the GI Bill paying for it. So I did the 6 months academy and got hired right out of the academy as a top of my class. So not bragging or anything, just it's kind of how I ended up where I ended up.
You're so stupid. It's so stupid. Not bragging, but I don't know. Hang on, is this on? I'm at the top of my class.
Yeah. You can write it down.
You're so stupid, dude. Oh, jeez.
So
were you really? Hang on, were you really, or were you like scraping by the barrel, just like, hey, I hope I graduate. You show up. Were you really at the top of your class?
You've heard the story before. Academics, physical fitness, and everything else that comes along with it. So.
Yeah, but sometimes I'm kind of like, was it? I mean, was it? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
You can.
So.
All right.
You've been in law enforcement for how long?
10 years, just about as long as Chance.
And what did you do? So he mentioned the response board, the counterterrorism response board. So tell me more about that.
Yeah. So the metro area that we work in got a grant from the federal government, and it was for counterterrorism. And so they wanted to put together, so basically with our metro area being so many municipalities all kind of crammed into one, as most metro areas are, they were trying to kind of figure out, how do we get, one of the biggest problems in law enforcement is, how do we get everybody on the same page when it comes to, mass incident response. We've dealt with the active shooter for a while now. That's kind of been a thorn in our side in law enforcement. But also the fact that the counterterrorism piece is a huge piece of it, and they wanted to try to be able to get all these agencies who normally train different tactics. They have different responses, speak different languages, because we have two sides of the state line. We're in two different states in our metro area. How do we get all these people on the same page? And so they sent a bunch of us down to a counterterrorism school. And Direct Action Resource Center. I don't know if you're
Yeah,
familiar
you've both
with
been to Truth Island, huh?
Truth Island. Yep. Okay, so I didn't know. But yeah, so we went down there. We learned a lot from Rich, and we came back. We wrote a curriculum and tried to take what we learned down there and cram it into. We wanted to have it be a 2-day course. We had to take his curriculum and kind of cram it into 8 hours. So
Very tough.
very, very tough. But we took what we thought everyone needed to kind of get on that base level. And now we're at several thousand officers trained within our metro area on those types of team tactics and all the lingo and stuff like that, so that we're all speaking the same language on the radio. We're doing the same thing. If they show up, they know, hey, I've had this training, and we can go and we can work together to solve that problem. So it started out slow, but we got a lot of traction with some of the bigger agencies in our area. And once that happened, man, we just started rolling, and a lot of people we're very receptive of it. You know how sometimes it's hard to change minds when it comes to stuff like that. But we were able to show just how simple it is, and how we can take that frontline officer and get him to work as a part of a team within 8 hours and put them through scenarios and see them succeed. It's been awesome.
Yeah, you mentioned it right there. You said it's hard to sometimes change minds. And I don't know if you're familiar with street cop training. I love watching when they put up videos on Instagram and on Facebook.
Love them. Love
And
them.
he's always posting these funny memes. I'm sure it's directly him that actually makes these memes, because you could tell there's passion behind the creation of his memes. And they're always something like, forward fluid shockwave, referring to like a baton. And they're like, but we've always done it this way. And it's so funny to hear them like just talk about why we're still doing these same old school tactics and using certain tools are just not effective, but we continue to use them.
That's the way we've
So
always
my
done
dream
it. Is
that's how we. No, you do it. You do it.
So that's the way we've always done it. Is absolutely I can't stand to hear that. There are some certain no, don't get me wrong. There are certain things that a lot of people that we've done in law enforcement or in anything that you just say, you know what, that's worked and it will continue to work because it just does. However, I equate that's the way we've always done it to when I tell my kids because I said so. There's really no reason behind it. It's just that's the way we've always done it, and I do not take that as an answer. And I feel like anybody who gives that as an answer, unless it's truly just one of those tried and true things that we do, don't be afraid to try to figure out a different way to do it or go find the answer if you don't know. Because that's I remember going through my break-in phase, or FTO, if you will, and I got a lot of that as answers were that's the way we've always done it. And then come to find out there are way better ways to do it. And that's what kind of gave me the passion to, I had already done some instructing and been a trainer in the Air Force, but that's when I kind of decided, hey, I'm going to start trying to find better answers to our problems, because I know they're out there. And some of the people I was talking to, I know that they're not the smartest people in the room. And they're the ones trying to tell me that there's no other way to do it. And I know that's not true. So.
Sure. And you're talking about FTOs, and I think that's actually a pretty common trend of FTOs getting these guys right out the academy and kind of telling them, listen, I know what they taught you is this, but this is how we really do things, et cetera, et cetera. And I think what would be so important for FTOs is, and I know some departments do it, but a lot aren't doing it. And it's that the new officer should also have to grade how the FTO is doing. Because if the FTO comes back with consistent grades saying they're burnt out, they're, just angry at everything, they're not doing things appropriately, you're going to have a lot more successful officers earlier on. And I think those FTOs have to be sort of middle of the road officers. They have to they're not brand new to the department, but they're also not 20-year veterans who are burnt. They need to be guys who are up to date, still taking care of themselves physically and mentally, and actually still care about the work, not guys who are just see that pot at the end of the rainbow and not just trying to get out right away.
100%. Yeah.
Wholeheartedly agree.
It's hard. I don't want to say it's hard to find those guys, because they exist. it seems like our guys are getting younger and younger, and there's some separation between the old heads and the turnover that happens in police departments now. To get those middle of the ground, that 8 to 12-year guy that's still passionate about the job and wanting to teach people, the new guys, the right way to do things, the safe way to do things. It's unfortunate, but that's kind of the way it is. But to me, the FTO, that's the most important job on the department. I from the chief or the sheriff all the way down to, whatever job. I think that if you don't have a true good selection process to evaluate those guys, like you said, whether it be that feedback forms and stuff like that from recruits. A lot of people, the other thing too, you have to look at is a lot of people don't like that feedback. They don't like to hear it, especially from a new guy,
Right, because they're saying, what do they know about this job? What do they know about this line of work? Why should they grade me? But they shouldn't grade you based on your tactics. They should grade you based on how you are as an instructor. Being a teacher and being proficient in your job are two very different things. And I think what's important is finding guys who can do both, because they don't need to be the best at tactics, but if they have an understanding of it and can execute it and can translate that message across to the next person, that's what makes a good instructor.
I
A well-rounded instructor.
Yeah. I use the example all the time. I'm a Royals fan, obviously, and George Brett, great hitter, terrible coach. He's one of those things that you can be the greatest or one of the greats and still not be able to teach it. And I think that's like you said, that's very important to be able to convey that information, then also give the why, because a lot of people to know that why as opposed to here's how we do it. Don't ask any questions. So you have to dive deep into it when you have the time to be able to tell people, because they'll be more likely to follow that example or listen to what you have to say if you can give them the true why behind whatever it is you're doing.
Got it. So together you have formed a company. What is the name of that company?
So we called it it's Holistic Solutions Group, and Jay came up with that because we kind of, the story is that after the riots of 2020, we had a pretty eye-opening conversation with someone that lasted several hours, and at the end of it, we were like, you know what, we've got to figure out what we're going to go do. What's a plan B? Because any cop who's not planning for some sort of contingency and will unfortunately could find themselves very quickly in circumstances they never thought they could be in, meaning, just it's a crazy time to, everybody hates us, including everybody up above you as far as commanders go. So we were like, hey, what are we going to go do? And the joke I already tell is like, we could go work at Quick Trip, we're going to get fired, just how we are. We could go work at Costco, but we'll get fired. We're like, well, we're really good at, we like instructing, we like teaching. We've had great feedback, let's see where this can go. We had some test groups, and it was just, the feedback was just unanimously like, hey, we need to check into this. And Jay actually came up with Holistic Solutions Group because we didn't want it to be like a tactical this or anything like that. We wanted to be like a professional name.
Sure.
And so one thing we pride ourselves in, there's a third person, Travis, and we pride ourselves in, like, we like being well-rounded, not just a good, like, so everything we're doing is special operations. And so we say the best operator is going to be well-rounded. He will have his areas of expertise, but he can fill in where needed. He's, they're articulate, they take care of themselves, they care about themselves. And so they care about their mind, they care about their body, and they care about their spirit. The spirit's the foundation of who they are, like their ethos. So, it just kind of stuck. We were just kind of talking, and Cheney was like, what about holistic? And we all just kind of looked and like, dude, that's awesome. Like, well, what does it mean? And we're like, well, all the solutions, we're just going to bring some solutions to people, okay, holistic solutions. And so Holistic Solutions Group, everything on Instagram, you got to have group on it. So
that is
like, right,
so true.
And we didn't even know, like, it's not even, so it's funny that we didn't even really know that was like what was happening. We just like came up with it. And then, as kind of some months, so I run our Instagram account. And so as months I'm like, there's a lot of those out there. I was like, yeah, but you know what? We like it. They stuck with it. And so far, it's been very, very, very good to us. So holistic solutions is just a well-rounded approach and using what we have to help build and make people better around us. Because we've been around people that have been good mentors and made us better. And we hope that we can use what we have, the gifts, what we have to help make people better. And I don't know, Kenny, what do you got?
Yeah, no, I mean, you kind of, that's exactly the story behind it. But like you said, that the kind of the thought process behind the holistic part of it is that like the mind, body, spirit side, and I've always believed that is that you got to take care and balance all those things. And especially it comes to kind of some stuff we were talking about earlier, as far as the just law enforcement in general, is guys don't take care of themselves. Guys, they think they've reached the pinnacle of their career. I've had conversations with those guys about, I don't need to go to courses anymore, or don't need to learn. You could always, hit the gym every day and get better. You can read a book every day and get better. Just talk to people, mentor people, find a mentor. There's always ways to get better. So that was kind of my thought behind it, and I'm glad these guys liked it, because I think that a lot of people kind of need to know that you can do. Travis talks about all the time is that the multidisciplined. There's a reason that mixed martial arts is a thing. It's not because if there was one martial art, they would just be the martial art. So you've got to be disciplined and well versed in all of those things. So I kind of apply that to that community, the law enforcement community, if you will, as far as just get better every day, and you'll see better change within the community, not just yours, but the community you work in, because it's you're just affecting people, and once you become better, you start making people around you better.
Absolutely. I agree with that statement 100%.
So
I think the reason, and our lessons came from when we realized we kind of had to deal with that for years. Is we were faced with a lot of adversity for no reason, and things that we can't really talk about yet, but experiences where it made us realize, look, this is good. We're making people better, and for no reason except for because I told you so. We were told no. We were saying, hey, we're not going to do that. For instance, we want to have fitness standards. No, we're not going to do that because it's a liability. What do you mean it's a liability? Well, if somebody gets hurt while you guys are training, then that's a liability on us. And you're like, wait, what? Or,
Yeah.
hey, we want to do this. This would make people better. These are good standards to hold ourselves to. We hold ourselves accountable, and we should be better and expect more of us. No, we're not going to do that because I said so. And you're like, what? So we were like, okay. So we ended up doing it on our own, not because we were like, okay, well, screw you. Just because it's no, we all talk to our guys and everything. We're like, no, we want to be better. Not meaning we want to clear rooms better or anything like that. We want to be better people, be better operators, be better men, be better police officers. We want to hold ourselves to a higher standard because it's expected of us out there. So we should respect that and expect more of us ourselves. And we had to be, it's amazing that everybody's like, yeah, that's what we should. But the opposition we would get, I mean, I can say it now. I'll say it. They should be ashamed of themselves, but they never will be. But it doesn't matter because of them. We are now better people because of what they did. We now can say, hey, we learned from them. And so thank you for doing that to us, because now we're bigger and we have adapted and I don't know. Does that make sense?
That makes absolute sense to me. I can tell you the area that I'm in, the unions of our departments and all the local departments are so powerful that the idea of a fitness standard has come up and it was shut down immediately. Just as one example, versus someone I know, I won't say who, recently discussing possibility of moving down to Florida and working down there as a law enforcement officer, and hearing how many departments down there, whether it's a municipality or a sheriff's office, have fitness standards. And there's actually, besides the fact that they have certain standards, there are rewards for going above and beyond those standards. and such as, additional time off. You get added AL time, actual financial bonuses. So little things like that are incentives to make you do that. And at the end of the day, for the people that don't have it in themselves to say, I want to do better because it's important to me, it's important to the guys I work beside, it's important to the community that I serve. It's helping guys get there. So the fact that you didn't have that opportunity and you came together and got a big group of people together, from what it sounds like, and said, guys, we need to do this on our own. No one else is going to help us. We have to help each other. That's pretty remarkable, because it'd be very hard to make that kind of wave happen where I am.
Yeah, well, it's I've seen a lot of those guys in your department. I think I know where you're at, and I've seen a lot of the uniform stuff. And you're like, man, yeah, it would definitely benefit them. Definitely benefit them. But you guys have such a big agency anyway that, I mean, there's no candle compared to what you guys have. So.
Yeah, I'm actually, I know which department you're referring to, and I'm a department that works alongside them quite a bit. And we're also very large, but we're not quite that big. We are probably one of the bigger ones in my state. I'm in New York. That's no hiding that. Yep. And good luck figuring out which one. Within New York, there's a whole bunch, but I'm one of the bigger ones within New York. But what she said is accurate to my department too. There are plenty of people who would probably benefit from looking in the mirror and trying to figure out where they went wrong along the way. That being said, so with Holistic Solutions Group, you do have some upcoming courses I saw on your site. If you could talk about some of those courses that you have coming up and what they entail, that would be awesome.
Yeah. In fact, just talked to one of our good buddies, Condition Gray, and we're trying to get this one out in your area, but there's a lot of, you nailed it on, there's a lot of stuff with unions and everything like that makes it kind of difficult, but not impossible. We do a lot of, open enrollment for civilians and stuff, but we definitely like doing a lot of special operations or, tactics and stuff for our guys, for law enforcement officers.
Sure.
I'd love to take a second just to talk about gas station tactics, because it's one of those things it's kind of taken off. And you mentioned street cop training, and one of my, Cheney's got a couple bucket lists that I'm working on for people that we look up to that I definitely want to get him in front of. But one of my bucket lists is to get in front of those guys and to hand them one of our gas station tactics shirts. Let them.
Yeah, I saw the shirts on the website. Tell me more about gas station tactics. What is gas station tactics for people who know what it is?
Kenny, go ahead. You want to do it, or you want me to?
I won't let you take all the credit for it.
You son of a.
So it was born down at the swamp down in Arkansas. So on Truth Island, he was down there for the first time. I was down there as doing some ID time, and he and Travis were sitting there talking about some stuff. It was, I think, it wasn't quite Wednesday, was it? It was Wednesday or Tuesday.
No, it was Thursday.
It's Thursday. That's right. That would make more sense. So, anyways, we're sitting there and they're jamming their mags. They're getting ready to listen to Rich talk, and I came walking around just kind of checking on everybody, and they said, "Hey." So we kind of got to talking about some of this stuff when we refer to, those crap tactics that we've kind of learned, and we have a couple of us have been talking about it. I said, well, what do you mean? Did we come up with a name for it? And I'm like, okay. And they're like, hey, so when you go to a gas station and you buy a knife, right? Like a truck stop or a gas station.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, all right. It looks really cool. It's flashy. It's got skulls and all kinds of like dragons and stuff on it, and he goes, but then you pop it open. What's the first thing that happens when you use it? And I was like, then it sucks. And he goes, exactly. So we're going to, and so the gas station tactics was kind of born as far, as.
It's genius, actually. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So they as two level 1 students down there, they had enough time to ponder that. So came up with that.
Oh God! All right.
So yeah,
Are
we
you
so we
done
just
yet?
kind of rolled with it, and it's for us. It's kind of a shot across the bow of some of the stuff that we see and some of the things that people ask us as far as, hey, I saw this or I saw that, and I'm like, hey, cool, let's go see if it works. That's what I will always put it to the test. And if it doesn't work, then it just looks good. Then that's a gas station tactic. It's gonna fail the first time. So
Fair enough. So in other words, allow people to learn from the mistakes of others. Don't let them learn that themselves. Because what we were talking about before, if it's always been done that way, isn't always the
Yes.
answer. And you're testing that firsthand.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
it's
So,
the big way to see it is like when you're doing. I mean, we've been to I don't even know how many different courses or schools and all that. You know, and the big thing is you should always be able to ask your instructor why, especially with what we are asked to do. Why are you teaching me to do this? Not in the that guy. You know, there's always that guy who wants to ask all the what ifs. We're not talking about that. We're talking about, hey, if you're teaching me this, why? And if their only answer is because that's how we've done it, then they don't understand the procedure, the tactic, or the technique, and you should question that. But if there's an answer, so for instance, we just taught one of our vehicle courses up in Indiana, and we welcome that. In fact, one of the things we should do is like you should always be able to explain what you're doing and why you're doing it when you do it. You should always be able to ask that because there needs to be a reason. If there's not a reason, you need to better yourself or better your situation. And so this is just our subtle way of, like Cheney said, sticking the middle finger to all those dudes that are like, well, that's because we've always done it. And it's like, well, you know what? We need to do better. We should be doing better as instructors, as a community, and we should be asking ourselves better. And it's just our way that, hey, you know what? Buy a cool shirt and wear it around. And when people ask what it is, like it's old, antiquated, backwards thinking, BS, cheap theatric tactics is the way of saying it.
No, it makes perfect sense. So gas station tactics, along with some other merch, is available on your website, along with those courses that are upcoming. What courses are coming up? Where can people find this site? What is the name of your site?
So it's holisticsolutionsgroup.com. And we've got courses coming up. So right now, the big thing we're going through is we've been going through some career changes, which have kind of halted a bunch of stuff that we've, for a lot of this. But with Cheney being deployed and a lot of, I guess I'll just say some stuff that's happening here at home with our former agency and our home agency, we've been kind of just making sure we're buttoning down the hatch, making sure we're good, our families are good.
Sure.
But coming up in Louisiana, we've got our tactical investigator operator course, the vehicle course that I wrote. Realized there was I was on thousands of operations, and there was always a simple, there was a common theme of, we'll take 3 days planning out a high-risk search warrant for a house. But as soon as, you make all these plans, but then as soon as the target comes out and goes mobile, we just basically throw it to the wind and say, we wish the best of luck. We'll go stop him. Well, these guys not going to stop. Okay, well, are we able to car check? All of this valuable time. And so what this course does is to bring investigators together, like detective units, street crimes and stuff, bring enforcement side together and say, hey, look how we can come together, and look how the enforcement side, we can plan operations, contingency for mobile operations. And then we do that, we are better, we're helping the detectives build their cases because of Fourth Amendment changes in vehicles and stuff. Detectives like it because we are doing it in a professional manner instead of in a professional manner. So we have chain of custody, we have all of this task organization, and it brings people together to say, man, look what we can do and how effective we can do with a simple plan, if that makes sense. So it's called TIOC, Tactical Investigator Operator Course. It's not just a fighting from a vehicle, it's basically how to plan operations, how to conduct those operations, and how to do everything afterwards. So that's one of them. You want to talk about like nerd and stuff like that, Cheney? Anything else?
sorry, I was shaking a water bottle. I was on mute. Drinking that much water over here, you got to put the stuff in the put the drink packets in. So yeah, so our kind of our flagship course is we call it CQB Nerd, and that was kind of just something that Chance actually came up with. But we wanted it to kind of just be fun, and I don't want to see me not taken seriously, but I kind of, again, with the gas station tactics stuff, you always got these really cool, I say cool, these flashy names for all these, and it's just like, hey, we're nerds about CQB, and so we're going to call it CQB Nerd.
Pretty straightforward.
So exactly, yeah. So we enjoy it. We're students of it every day, and kind of nerd out about that stuff. So, but essentially, what it is we've taken some of the kind of all the lessons along the way that we've learned, some of the things that work, and some of the things that don't, and we kind of put it all into a class. And everyone always says there's multiple ways to do things. So in my opinion, that is true. There are some things that work and some things that don't. We're going to show you all the ones that do, and I'll even show you the ones that don't, and we'll show you why. We'll even let you test it out. So we've gotten a lot of good feedback from that one, just for the fact that we do spend a lot of time talking about all the different things that people generally don't think about when they're looking at angles, or when they're looking at just examining kind of what's in front of them. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, and it's just kind of an easy way we try to break it down and make it very simple, and use kind of hey, if everything always, what's Travis always says, if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and just understand that, there are a lot of ways to solve a problem. You just got to use the right tool at the right time. So it's very, we've taught to multiple levels of officers and folks that have never done a CQB course, or some that have, and everybody's gotten something out of it. So that's the one that most people like to see, and we really enjoy teaching. So
That's great. And I thought I saw one more course on the site, and I could be wrong.
Well, there's a couple. No, there's a couple more. So we've got something called high rev, which is just high risk engagements around vehicles. There's a civilian version, like an open enrollment version, and there's a law enforcement version. Law enforcement version isn't any different. I mean, the civilian version of law enforcement, the only difference is that we take a lot of responsibility and a lot of pride in the fact that if we're teaching civilian, we don't want to just teach them to fight. They have to understand the legal principles of what they're justified. I think one thing we want to do is bring the term use of force to the common curriculum of civilians, because they need to understand the different levels that they are going to be held accountable for, rather than just pulling a gun and shooting at a target and then saying, hey, this is just like it is in the real world. And it's like, no, it's not. That's actually the opposite of what you should be teaching them. And so high risk engagement on a vehicle, or high rev, is just a course that's designed to how to utilize a maneuver around close quarters out in an urban environment, usually a vehicle. So the ballistics, stack, all that stuff, fighting in and around. And then when we talk with law enforcement officers, it's a lot of case law about, hey, what are you justified in doing? What should your procedures be now? Because you have to integrate radios and, task, all of that stuff is completely different for law enforcement than it would be for civilians. And so that's just the only reason why there's two separate ones. Law enforcement could come to civilians, but the civilian ones don't get to come to law enforcement, just because it's not like there's anything secret. They just, their SOPs for engaging something like that are completely different. Their expectations are different. So then we just did our first open enrollment, CWC, I think is what we're calling it, the combat weapon course. That was really, really well accepted. All we did was basically took a basic rifle course and opened their environment to about 270 degrees. And most of our courses, what we're trying to do is get off the linear training, pull a gun, shoot straight, and do the BS mag pull dynamics. Check your shoulders real quick and see what's out there. Like that's stupid. So we want to bring a.
It's funny you say that. I don't mean to cut you off.
We all did it.
But there is this there's this video I've shown students before when I've seen them do whatever they want to call it, search and assess, drop and scan. You hear all the different terms depending on what courses you go
Heard it
to.
all.
And it's all that stupid,
Heard
like
it
you
all.
just said, looking shoulder to shoulder. And it's so funny because I was at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey. And they had, I assume at some point, there was somebody, whether an adult or a child, that got injured on next to a ride, not even on a ride, but it was one of the rides where it's a giant, everybody sits in a giant circle and just spins really fast. And I assume someone wasn't on the ride, but they were right next to it and they got injured as it was spinning and they weren't outside of that area. So at some point, just like pretty much how our SOPs come to be, somebody made the mistake of running the ride without checking first to see that no one was around. So now everybody has to do this stupid thing where they place their hand to their eyebrows and search left and right for somebody in the riding area. But they all do it the same way that we would do that search left, search right, where they just swing their head really fast without actually looking and then give a thumbs up to say it's all clear, they can run the ride. And I've shown that video to students after I see them do a useless drop and scan or a useless search and assess. And then they kind of realize what I was saying, where if you're going to search and assess, give it a real search and assess. I like to put either numbers or something up in the room where I tell them locate, number 3. And now they're kind of actually looking while making sure their muzzle is pointed in a safe direction. So they can actually be aware of their surroundings, not just, look pointlessly in both directions.
So we call that linear training scars or range training scars, whatever you have it. The big, everybody knows is going to be the California officers who died in a shootout with the bullets in their pocket because at the range they were taught to, so they didn't have to pick up the brass. They put the brass in their pockets, right? And they all died. God rest their souls. They all died, but they died with brass in their pockets because they were trained that way, and that's how they reacted. There is so many linear training scars from only training on a flat range that is so evident in law enforcement, military, all of that. And so that's part of what we try and do with all of our courses is open everybody up to real environments. And so when we go and look for locations, as long as we can have that, we were able to do that up in Ohio. And with our TIOC courses, we do that. We open them up like say, hey, not only do you do this, but a big problem is that if you conduct this vehicle assault, that's great. But in the first several reps, we start saying, okay, what about everything outside? We showcase, everybody wants to point their guns inside. Well, we don't want to point our guns at people we don't need to, that's another thing we'll talk. But the whole point is everybody's focuses in on that, but nobody's focusing outward, because there's so many threats outside. If you're doing a vehicle assault, you've got traffic, you've got pedestrians, you've got, possible friendlies and compromises and secondary, depending on who your target is, you might have secondary ambushes and, all of this different stuff that you need to be wary of, but nobody is turned out. And so that's the stuff we try and bring in our classes in a fun, but a really good learning environment, saying, hey, we need to be opening up our eyes to what's around us and expanding how we look at this situation. And so, we're talking about our courses. So that's what we showcase that with the combat weapons course. Chris Roomer is doing, I think he's calling it 360-degree rifle. A lot of these good instructors are kind of jumping on board with that. I know LJ is doing that. They're realizing, man, we've got to change how we do it, and starting with getting out of just looking directly in front of us and focusing there on that target. Whatever that V29 target is, at 25 yards or 10 yards, it doesn't matter. There could be things all around us, and we need to be trying to help people see that and assess that.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of people are going to come up with excuses as to why it's not doable. I don't have a location that will allow me to increase my, area in which I can, properly fire my weapon with a proper backstop. But there's a lot of creativity that can come about to get around that. If it's part of the day is shooting on a flat range, and then the other part of the day is using simunitions in a location where now you can, shoot 360 degrees, that can work.
That's where I was going to say, is that we are so blessed to be in this day and age. There really isn't an excuse. Yes. I had this discussion with one of our students, and he was like, man, I just can't afford this or whatever. And I'm like, I was looking at his rifle, his kit, his helmet, and I'm like, I was like, dude, I know, right? I'm looking at you and you have almost $10,000 in this setup. So don't sit here and say, like, just go sell a Safe Queen and buy a Mantis Blackbeard. That'll enable you to do this. You don't have to have a live fire range. Like CQB Nerd, all of these things can be done in a closed environment. You don't have to have it. It's ideal, but like you're saying, it's not needed. There are so many different ways that we can open up our training environments, and so that's, it's just something that we have to bite and realize that we have to do it. We actually have to go forward with it.
Sure. So that being said, what goals do you have for Holistic Solutions Group in the near future? What besides these courses that are being put on, do you have new programs that are upcoming? Do you have certain goals as far as maybe contracts with agencies or a certain number of students you're hoping to get through the doors? What are you guys looking to make happen coming up in the next few years?
Well, Cheney, I'll let you go first on that one.
Yeah. Okay. For me, I just want to make, I guess the biggest goal for me is to make an impact. It's something that I've always been, like I said, kind of starting out in the military and then kind of going in through law enforcement and stuff like that. I realized that there's a need for a change, and I think some people see it that way. But to me, it's just to have that effect and that impact on people and that community, because I think that there's a lot of gaps. And I think for me is I would holistic to fill hopefully some of that, fill the gap where some of that training lacks. And like you said, there's some agencies that have training financial constraints or time constraints or whatever it be. We want to work with those agencies. We want to get people and officers, deputies, whatever they are, get them good training that they need to not only for their own survival, but to help their community. And I know that kind of sounds, like one of those virtuous type goals, but to me, that's how I feel as far as the impact side of it. What I would really like to see is holistic to continue with the not just the tactical training, but also with it being the holistic picture and as far as mind, body, spirit, kind of be able to offer maybe some like fitness programs, some stuff that I remember guys working on midnights that would go to Quick Trip at a particular time because they knew they were getting rid of the roller food, and they'd go in and fill up a bag full of roller food. And it's just I feel like some of these guys, if they just had something to follow as far as hey, if you're working midnights and you didn't pack your lunch, here's something you can go eat that's decent, and something that you'd think that everybody could kind of figure out in today's age, but sometimes you just need somebody kind of point you in the right direction. So as far as that would be that fitness, and then also just the with being military and law enforcement, as far as the spirit side of it, I really want to try to impact the letting somebody find kind of that higher power, be it whatever it is, and something to kind of to whether it be you meditate or whatever, as far as self-reflection and just trying to figure out your path, try to help people find that. Unfortunately, military and law enforcement, the suicide rate is absolutely ridiculous. So with the other facet of that mind, body, spirit, it would be nice to try to start getting into some organizations and being able to kind of give back, as far as fortunate as we've been, and try to get out there to some of these guys and let them know, hey, we're here for you. We give out our cell phones to all of our students, and they know that they can call us. All of my buddies know that they can call me, and they know how upset I would be if anything ever happened to them. But it's one of those things where you just like I said, that it's mind, body, spirit, and I want to have an impact on all three of those things. So my goal would be to try to start pushing into those other avenues, and I know I've not to divulge too much before I know anything, but we're already trying to work into some of those organizations and groups as far as veterans and police officers and stuff like that. We'll see if it's a close goal or down the road a little bit, but that's kind of my vision and picture for it.
Awesome. And Chance, what do you got for me?
if I were to tell you my goal in 5 years is I don't want to say I'm going to mimic what he said because, I mean, Jay's my best friend, man. It's like I've known him for years, and I knew that's what he was going to say because that's what we all are. The only thing I'll add is that just utilize what we have to keep growing our community. We try and have our after action stuff needs to be, we try and have it around it. We've always had it around a campfire or something like that because it's just very primitive. I think there's too many environments that, we're cast out. It's almost like we're so good at casting ourselves out, to detrimenting ourselves, to just throwing everybody to the wolves on everything. And I think what hit me was one of our focus groups. We started when we were talking, and I don't know if you remember this, Jay, but it was like we were kind of going around and doing our after action stuff and talking, and it was almost just like it's like we were friends. I mean, it's like we just met them, and it's like we cared about each other, and we really didn't do anything different rather than just come together and share some common ground by tactics and stuff like that. And then that's when I don't know, I think it was confirmed to us. It's like, we're not doing this stuff because it's cool. We're doing this because we've been blessed to see a lot and do a lot. And we can utilize that to help build better people, because it really does. By teaching people how to solve complex problems through basic principles, which is kind of what CQB is, and whatever it is, whatever it is. I mean, CQB is kind of becoming kind of like that cliche thing, and I don't care. But through all of that, almost like it provides that avenue for us to reach out and like put our hands on people's shoulders and be like, guys, you guys can do this. Whether you're a manager at a gas station or you're in HR, you can apply these lessons of basic principles that you're learning here across the board and better yourself. Therefore, you're going to help other people. We're receiving emails from students after our classes. I mean, Cheney, I think I should read. I'll read it. You think I should read it, Cheney? Can I read this one?
Yeah,
I'll
go
read
ahead.
it. Okay. Yeah. So this is one we got from one of our students after Ohio. Let me see if I can find it. What? What? All right, hang on.
While you're looking for
Anyway,
that email, oh no, if you want to go ahead and find it, feel free to. I want to do real quick mention the social media that you guys are using to contact your students, where students can keep up to date on what's going on, and where you guys keep posting up really important information, tips, training advice, things that are going up there. So where can people follow you on social media?
So Holistic Solutions Group is going to be our Instagram page.
Okay.
Yep.
I run that, but we didn't have social media until we kind of started doing this. And so I'm that 36-year-old dude that's late at night watching a 15-year-old tell me about algorithms and hashtags and how to utilize all that stuff, right? But out of all the stuff I'll talk about social media and all the craziness, it actually has connected us through some insane people that we can absolutely learn from. And hang on, dude, I have my best. Yeah, I know. Hang on, guys. I had a guy just pull up next to me. I owe you a phone call.
All right. Don't worry about that. I muted him. Yeah. So
Okay.
go ahead. You can pick up from there, Jay.
Yeah. So again, like you said, I've never had social media, so it's a learning curve, and I'm glad that he kind of decided to take that on. But we, that's kind of our thing, is that we just wanted to be able to start kind of putting some stuff out there, because I truly think that we kind of have one of those things where if you're keeping all your secrets, as far as, hey, pay for my course and I'll teach you how to survive, or whatever it is, street survival and stuff like that. It's kind of like the watch the news at 10 and find out what's killing your family. You kind of like,
right.
Man, just let me know what it is. So we just wanted to be able to just kind of put that content out there, because I really do think that what we do have beyond that, when it comes to our courses, is very beneficial, as far as some of that whys and stuff like that. So yeah, just that, and we like to label some of the gas station tactics stuff that we see out there. And if anybody has some good ones, let us know, because we're always looking
send it our way.
We're always looking for good ones. And again, everyone has their thing, but if you're ever in Detroit, there's a good course there.
If you guys want to literally die of laughter, I commented on one of his videos recently and I wrote, "Thank you for your service on behalf of a grateful nation." And today I got an email saying that there was a reply to that. And it's right here. It was them saying, "I appreciate that." So I actually screenshotted that. I'm going to post it up on the Instagram page later to show that I can troll dust, and they actually respond.
That's awesome.
Well,
yeah, I thought that's pretty funny.
I know
Did
a
you
lot
find
of
the email, Chance?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, well, here's the thing: is that the email, I found it. It's basically, I don't want to, you know what? Out of respect to the student, I'm not going to share. We get them a lot of just like, hey, I'm walking away from your courses and I'm a better person. And I'm not saying that in regards of like, hey, we're awesome. I'm saying it was one of those things that like, it's just part of how we've created our brand or our strategy. It's like, we want to create better people. We want to use all of what we're doing, not to teach tactics, but to help people realize like, you guys are good. You guys are good people. And, you should notice that we don't give ourselves enough credit. We don't recognize our own victories enough. And I know I'm the worst person at that I don't recognize a lot of my victories. I'm very internally hard on myself. But as far as the Instagram stuff, we're going to start putting out more. We're definitely, coming together on stuff. It's just really hard because Instagram is actually where we kind of came up with the term linear thinking that, if you bring something up, you're going to have a bazillion people saying, well, what about this? You're like, yeah, but here, we're only addressing this right here. And it's like, well, what about all this and this and this? And you're like, oh my gosh, you're losing the whole point of what this is about, right? And but at the same time, it's like, we got to find a way to do that. We got to find a way to put stuff out.
You can put a picture out there and it's of you. I mean, it could be like the new hat you have on and say, hey, cool, I got this awesome gas station tactics hat from HSG, and someone will point out the fact that your dust cover on your the bolts locked to the rear and the dust cover's open with no magazine in, yada yada, and you're like, that I just have my rifle set. I was just done on the range, whatever it is. But you got those guys out there that just want to pull your shoes. Your shoes on, that's why I'm using it as an example, because it was completely irrelevant to the piece, like the picture of the piece on that was the caption, but oh yeah, you must not be very hardcore because your bolts locked to the rear and you got your dust cover open. That's real awesome of you. And I'm like, why do people feel the need to say stuff like that? They're missing the point. So
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what that is about social media. I am looking forward, I have to say, to the news of today with Elon Musk buying out Twitter. Finally, they accepted the deal to see. I'm hoping it turns into a 2006 Call of Duty server. I think that'll be really fun to relive those memories of anyone saying whatever they want. So brace yourself for what might come as far as comments are. But you're right about that. And it's that keyboard warrior mentality. I don't know why people do it. I will say I just got into competition shooting. I joined a group on Facebook to, kind of gain more advice from different guys that have been doing it, whatever they can offer. I'm happy to accept any advice and then gauge whether it was good advice or bad advice. And I posted up a video and I was pretty happy with how I did. And I actually surprisingly had like 60 really just nice comments, people saying, good job, keep it up. And then one guy wrote, I would have done better. And I didn't even have to do that fighting because funny enough, somebody else commented and wrote, actually, you shot the same competition as him and he did better than you. And they posted up the scores from our competition. So I didn't even have to look into it. He handled all that for me. So the internet is not a forgiving place. So it's just, you're going to see that all the time. And I think seeing through the haters is the best bet, knowing that when you get those emails of people reaching out saying, thanks to you guys, I'm a better person. I'm a better father. I'm a better warrior. I'm a better, community member overall, right? Anything that they gained out of your class, what more can you ask for out of that? Those are the things you need to focus on, because those are the people that are actually affecting you, and you're affecting them, and everyone else can go sit on it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's yeah. I guess if you're not pissing people off, you're probably not doing a very good job anyway. So, just
Absolutely.
that's the way I
Well,
look at it.
I'm good with. Tanya can attest. I'm very okay with pissing people off. I just would rather put time and energy into other stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I'm really good at pissing people off.
Yeah, in a good way,
Don't
though,
push
for a
that.
good reason. For
Yeah.
a good reason.
Yeah. Don't push
No.
that button. Which one? This one?
So wrapping up to the end of this, I'm asking everyone on the show the same question. And I would like to know, what is your EDC? What are you carrying every day? What's important to keep on you? So Jay, why don't you start us off on that?
Oh.
This is my M4. There are many other like it, but this one is mine.
Yeah. Over here, yeah, different. But back home, that's funny because it changes a lot. It kind of depends on my outfit for the day, and I realize how that sounds, but I said that on purpose. So
Hey!
I was never mind. I was referencing something.
Why couldn't you have said, like, it depends on what I'm wearing?
Because
I guess it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, you get it. But anyways, so are you wanting to know brands or something like that? Can we say all that stuff? Or do you
Yeah,
just want,
absolutely. There you can drop it all out there, because I think people that are listening can gauge what kind of training, what kind of experiences you have, and perhaps to someone who is newer or someone that's very experienced but maybe is lacking in a certain area, they can learn something from what you're carrying and why.
So I'll say it this way, because I truly believe that there's a lot of things out there that work good, but Chance is going to give me a hard time for this because I'm going to say it, and he knows what I'm getting ready to say.
I'm looking forward to it, honestly.
Yeah,
I'm so ready for this. I won't say a thing.
It's not necessarily what it is, it's how you use it, right? So I honestly, because it fits so well in my pocket and they're not that bad, I generally run an Olight in my pocket, and I'll say that because and I know that he absolutely despises that I say that, but you know what? I'll go on the record saying it. So as far as everything else, I've got a Kershaw, just a small a Kershaw that I carry. Always have a tourniquet, and then I'll carry a Glock 19 as my everyday carry firearm. So other than that, I mean, I'm usually in gym shorts, so it's usually in a bag. If I'm carrying a bag, I usually have some type of a trauma kit with me. I usually try to make my bag, I'll put it like a hard plate in it just to make it harder to carry, because I want to exercise everywhere I go. I'm looking in my bag right now. Basic cables, something to charge your phone in case you need it, and that's I'm pretty simple when it comes to that. I don't get crazy. Now, if you wanted to go into like a bug out bag or something like that, it'd be different. But my basic everyday carry is just, I got some Band-Aids. I have kids, so I've got usually some Paw Patrol Band-Aids and some other stuff. But
the Paw Patrol Band-Aids are actually for Chance, or they're for your kids?
Well, that too. I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to dime them out. So,
Listen,
but yeah,
I'm just saying they work for. They're great boo-boo kits. They make boo-boo still better.
Yeah. Usually some hand sanitizer nowadays, but other than that, like I said, I keep it pretty simple. Sunglasses. That's about it. Unless you got any questions about it, I'm kind of just going through it. I don't. There's really nothing necessarily behind it besides the medical stuff and the. I always have a flashlight and a knife and a gun, but other than that, it kind of changes throughout. Whatever day it is.
No, and a tourniquet. We all kind of started carrying tourniquets a while ago.
Yeah, I hit that one. So.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I have tourniquets everywhere. I started off in the medical field, working EMS before law enforcement.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of just like, it's something that I harp on everybody when I don't see them with one. But yeah, it's like weird. My girlfriend gets weirded out how no matter what drawer she opens, and whether it's a truck or a room or a backpack, and she's like, "Why is there another? How many tourniquets do you own?" And I'm like, "Enough."
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
enough.
And so I will say that before everybody goes crazy on this, because I have a feeling we're gonna hear about it. I do run other flashlights. I just have a handheld O light that I like to run. So I do run some other flashlights. I just want to clear the air on that. That in no way, shape, or form.
I can't
In
let
no
my
way.
boo be running a O light on his weapon.
No. I'm just saying, I don't want to go on the record. I don't want to think this is a O-Light commercial because it's absolutely not. But I just want to make sure that we did address that.
Sure. And Chance, what's in your EDC?
Yeah.
I run so I always will have a spare mag on me. Figure statistic, the things that is going to go wrong is the shooter, then the ammunition or magazine. So if I tap rack and goes click again, just feed it a different mag. So I'll run I've got a Glock 19 that I always put a light on it. You only got one in it. So Glock 19, extra magazine. I love carrying appendix like the sidecar, but lately I've been carrying a lot of my mag in the Hush Puppy. I think it's not Hush Puppy, it's a Hush mag or something by Condition Gray.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah,
it's awesome.
It's innovative design
Dude,
behind
awesome.
that. It's awesome.
Oh man, it's awesome. From running an AR mag to you can put a tourniquet, you can put whatever in it. And I've got I just have a Glock 17 round. I have a Glock 17 mag. So Glock 19, but then a 17 mag.
Sure.
And then it's got base plates on it. So the more ammunition, the better. Always keep a tourniquet. I run a knife. I've really become a fan of Cobra Techs. They use D2 steel for everything, and they're pretty affordable. Kind of a budget micro tech. And I run a light. I got a stiletto. I think is what it's called, the Surefire stiletto recently. And God, I love that. Other than that, man, just my wallet, sunglasses, and usually I have a diaper bag on me for my baby girl. And try and keep it simple. Either way to plug holes or find a way to make my situation better by moving forward or backwards.
It makes sense to me. Now, a controversial topic in today's world. We've really gotten very divided, 50-50. I gotta know.
If you ask about barrel length, I'm hanging up.
No, nothing about barrel length. I actually am more curious about this. Like I said, it's pretty 50-50 divided down the road, even amongst like-minded individuals like in law enforcement. Do you prefer hard shell or soft shell tacos?
That's awesome.
Yeah. I was hoping for a good build-up to kind of just see what would happen.
I honestly was like, oh, shoot, man, I really hope I'm right up to speed on whatever case law you're about to drop. And apparently chalupas and crunch wrap burritos are on the menu.
Yeah, I'm all about that.
Oh, man,
Go ahead.
No, buddy, you're up.
I'm all about the what do they call it? It's not a crunch wrap. What do they call it? Which got the hard shell and the soft shell, kind of the.
Oh, if you go to Moe's, they call it the stack.
Okay, yeah, it's got the hard shell and the soft shell around it with the cheese and everything like that.
Yeah, the cheese is like glue, holds it all together. Yeah, it's good.
Oh, exactly. You're right. It's glue, cheese glue. Let's go with that. I put cheese on everything. So and then let's promote fitness while we're at it.
Yeah, absolutely. But in all seriousness, the last thing I want to talk about is parting words. What advice do you have for somebody who's looking to train, looking to get better, looking to build on kind of the philosophy that Holistic Solution Group stands on, mind, body, spirit? What advice do you have for someone who's looking to overall become a more well-rounded individual and train harder, get smarter, get faster, get stronger, and be better?
Read books and train your ass off. Sometimes, Cheney and I are actually going to do a little thing on this soon, but there's training blind and then there's training, like effectively or like training hard. To me, training blind are like those rage. You got to train, you're going to work out all your demons, lift really heavy, run really far, and it's really needed. But too much of that, you're going to lose scope and you're not going to be keeping track of your victories. So, train hard, meaning have plans and celebrate those small victories. And to me, the last couple months, I look back and I should have celebrated things a lot more than I did with all the opposition and stuff that was going on. And thanks to this guy that's on the phone call with you and I, man, this guy just really helped me pull me through a lot. And he helped me look back and, see a lot of small victories, man. And there was a lot of them there and I didn't see them. And I wish people would look at themselves and realize, man, we have a lot to offer. There's a lot of people opposing who we are and what our missions are. And it's okay. We don't have to listen to them. Let them talk and let that white noise dissolve away. And you'll come out on top. So celebrate the small victories, train really hard. And when you got to train, do that rage training, go ahead and do it. It's okay.
Awesome. Jay, what do you got for me?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with what he just said. My thing is just take care of yourself. Go out and, like he said, every once in a while you get to go out and do that hard training, push yourself. I think there's a lot of people that haven't really pushed themselves to a particular limit, and I think that teaches you a lot about yourself when you have the opportunity to do that. And I don't even necessarily mean physically, but taking care of, like we said, mind, body, spirit. You can push yourself at any level to, I'm going to read, a book once a month, or, a book a month, or I'm going to make sure I listen to my podcast. Ryan Holiday. I love listening to him. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's written a couple books on stoicism and stuff like that. And I generally try to listen to some of his stuff every day. Just challenge, make yourself better. And then also just go out and learn. You can learn a lot from YouTube. You can learn a lot from pretty much anybody. My challenge to everybody to get better is just to go out and try it, see if it works. You can buy all the gear in the world. You can make yourself look the part, but go out and test it, go out and validate it. Vet your instructors. That's one of the things that I will say. There's a lot of good people out there doing a lot of good things. And in order to become better, sometimes you got to learn from learn the wrong thing and say, hey, I'll never do that, because that's also learning. Kind of like everybody learns bad leadership, leadership tactics from a lot of bad leaders as opposed to the good ones. So I would say vet your instructors is my big advice. And then, just train hard, go out and train hard. That's like he said, I really think that whether it's on the range, whether it's in the gym, whether it's with training your mind, just get better every day. That's something I say all the time, and I tell my guys here, just make yourself better every day, and you'll start having a positive effect on people. So that's really all I got on that. Just get better every day and train hard.
That's great. No, thank you.
Train good. Sorry, train hard and train good. Good reps.
Train good.
Training good.
Train good. I'm gonna train good.
It's good reps. Travis always says it. Never end on a bad rep. So if you screw it up, go do it a good one. Then stop on a good one, or make as many as you can good. So, like I said, good hard training.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, I thank you for coming on the show. I know it was difficult to schedule a time where we could all get together and do this, but it's greatly appreciated. I look forward to hopefully training alongside you guys at some point in the near future. I'm looking to maybe do a little traveling and try to get some training with all different gentlemen that I've gotten to speak with along the way. So until then, I hope you guys stay safe and take care of yourselves. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, man. That was been awesome.
You're listening to the Ricochet Report.
That is all the time we have for this episode of the Ricochet Report. If you enjoyed it, please share it with everyone you know. And it's easy to do so. You can let them know where they can find the podcast. You can go to our website. You can go to Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. All these places are going to let people know how to follow, how to subscribe, how to stay tuned in with what's going on. And any of the podcast places that you like to listen to, we're there. All right. We're talking Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, Spotify, you name it, we're there. Some of the other ones too. And like I mentioned before, YouTube is one of the places you can find the podcast. Additionally, on YouTube, you see some other stuff. We have a lot of competition footage up there from USPSA matches we've been shooting. The Ricochet Report factory team has been traveling and shooting some awesome matches. And if you're interested in joining, guess what? All you got to do is want to shoot a USPSA match, and that's all it takes. You can DM the page. We'll get you a jersey. We already got the team growing, and we have jerseys out there. They look awesome. I'll be posting up some pictures of the jerseys on the Instagram and Facebook so you can see what they look like if that's something you're interested in. We also have some new reviews that are coming up so soon on some very cool products that are innovative and are helping the firearms industry grow in a positive way. And that is what we need. So look forward to those videos coming out on the YouTube page, the Ricochet Report. There, you're going to be able to keep up with some really good content that hopefully you'll enjoy just like you do listening to this podcast. If you are enjoying this show, there are so many different ways that you can go and support this show. The number one way is just sharing it, letting people know it's out there, it's enjoyable, and you think they're going to like it too. If they love firearms, this is the show for them. If they love law enforcement tactics, training, this is also the show for him. If they just need to be entertained on their commute to work, while they're at the gym, while they're trying to put the baby to sleep, this is the show for them. So let them know that this show is available, and that is the number one way to support this show. There are some other ways you can support this show. Buy me a coffee. Buy me a coffee right now is the number one cash way to support this show. That's right. You would be donating coffees to me, and that way I can stay up and record these episodes at weird hours with people from all over the world. This episode was nothing shy of difficult to record due to the locations and time zones of the individuals involved. So that is a great way to support myself and support the show, keep the show going. I love doing it. I'm not going to stop, but if you can buy me a coffee, that is a great way to support me, and I would really appreciate that. You can also buy some merchandise. We do have merchandise available. We have the jerseys, like I said. Additionally, besides the jerseys, we also have t-shirts available, and we're working on patches. So get ready for those coming up. You'll see links for them on the Instagram link tree. So just be ready for that. And when they are up and running, you just let me know and we'll take care of it and get you some sweet merch, some swag ready to go for the show. But guys, that is all the time we have for this episode. Tune in next time when we actually have Drew Walker of Walker Defense Research on the show. These podcasts are pre-recorded. Some logistical reasons we had to bump this episode up and move his back, but that one is coming up so soon and you're going to want to listen to it because he's got some of the most innovative products in the industry. So make sure to tune in next time where you're going to hear from Drew Walker on what is going on and how he is designing and producing some worldwide incredible products that are changing the game in the firearms industry. So make sure to tune in for that one. That's all I got for you on this episode. Keep training. Stay safe.